Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, I doubt any of you watched Rapture-Palooza. I think it's rated R, which is why you didn't watch it, because the R rating is an idol god that you need to fear and tremble and avoid watching. But in that movie, it's all about Anna Kendrick, sweet, innocent girl who didn't get raptured in Armageddon. And Beelzebub reigns supreme on the earth, and then her boyfriend murders Jesus. Heavenly Father comes down, "You murdered my son!" And then both Beelzebub and Heavenly Father are murdered. They die in the hot tub. Classic tale. And so, I don't know if you know, Christians would have known, and that's why they were offended with the movie. As SNL would go on to do a skit where Jesus gets revenge on everybody. He's back from the dead. But these come from the scriptures. Rapture-Palooza didn't make it all up, assign Jesus a flying horse. They get that from Revelation chapter 19, verses 11, and it's supposed to be 17, but they only used 11. And that's where Christians believe that that is the second coming of Jesus from the clouds of glory, coming down to smite the wicked and establish Zion on earth for those who didn't get raptured. Anna Kendrick, is she supposed to be made the queen? No. And so, movies that use the Bible are supposed to remind the viewers of the Bible stories. And so when you know your Bible, you know the stories that are being told in Hollywood entertainment. And so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doesn't know this and doesn't appreciate Hollywood art, because they're offended by having our missionaries and the church be presented in a victim format. They want to be perceived as a bully pulpit rather than victims, with heretic Hugh Grant. But then there's others, Troy, Clash of the Titans, the Gods of Egypt movies that are of other cultures. And we don't consider those coming from Scripture. We don't consider that other cultures had Scripture because of Roman Emperor Constantine. And so nobody connects Perseus on the back of Pegasus when he confronts the Kraken with Medusa's head to turn him to stone. Turn to stone. We got a different one. We're going to use Back in the Saddle in the description below, because of Perseid meteor showers this year. And the back of the white horse, signs in the heavens. So Just to let you know in advance. Sorry, no ELO. We're using Aerosmith. If you don't like it, wah. And so, yeah, that is Revelation 19, verse 11 and 17. But nobody knows it because of Roman Emperor Constantine. That's the damage he did. The first creed of Christianity that created Christianity. Christianity never existed before. Steals the Jewish scriptures and turns them into literal history. But the Roman scriptures, the Greek scriptures, the Persian scriptures, the Babylonian scriptures, the Assyrian scriptures, the Egyptian scriptures, Canaanite scriptures, Hittite scriptures, Chinese scriptures, Aztec scriptures, Mayan scriptures, boom, they're all considered myths. Bible literal history, everything else, myth. Fake news. Constantine, he caused this. Scholars are all a bunch of dumbasses for calling them myths. There are a few that catch on, sort of. The only one that was beginning to catch on was D.M. Murdoch, and she's dead. Died on Christmas. And so Christians cheered because they believed Jesus smote her down for her heresy. Who was the first heretic? Constantine. With the creation of Christianity. You just pulled a beam and moat, Christians. Beam and moat. And so these ancient religions were the ones who named our constellations, specifically the zodiac and the planets and the stars. Jupiter, that's the Roman deity. Mars, Roman. Venus, Roman. Getting the hint? Roman. That's the name we use for the most part. But we do have we have Perseus. That's Greek. Whereas Hercules is Roman. Hercule is Greek. Equivalent for Hercules. And so, yeah, the only difference is that they give a different name with a different language that the different culture uses. And they tell different types of stories, though in many instances you will see crossovers with them, like Pegasus, the white horse. Hercules has it, Perseus has it, and Jesus has it. And so, yeah, Dorothy Murdoch believed that the Bible is a book of plagiarism. You know, like the Book of Mormon plagiarizing the Bible. Oops. Sorry, Kwaku, plagiarism is not proof of the truth of the Book of Mormon. But it also tells you something else. That the ancient stories are incorporated in the Book of Mormon stories. That they are not literal history either. Because if you turn it into Christian, you pull the same stunt that Constantine pulled on the Jews. And so, yeah, Mormons, sorry, the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are lying to you. They're deceiving you. What the Book of Mormon is a bunch of God tales. Gospels. Godspell. Tales of the gods. And so when we hear that the Book of Mormon is prophecy, predictions of the future and revelation, day and hour, time, you're supposed to catch on, and thus attach it to the Jewish scriptures as prophecy and revelation. And as I just told you, the Romans, their scriptures are prophecy and revelation. The Greeks, their scriptures are prophecy and revelation. The Babylonians, their scriptures are prophecy and revelation. The Assyrians, their scriptures are prophecy and revelation. The Hittites, the Canaanites, the Egyptians, Aztecs, Mayans, Chinese, prophecy and revelation. They all originate from the Egyptians, not the Assyrians. Assyriologists lie to you. And so you may have heard that there are dumbass scholars who claim that Tiamat is in Genesis chapter 1. Oh my God, seriously? No. It's the Heliopolis creation glyph, duh, of the Egyptians. Same with chapter 2, dumbass documentary hypothesis. You get a bunch of people who just are stupid. They just are working to get a paycheck, and so they lie as they are the only one in their field, they suppose. Because nobody else studies, everybody thinks they're cool, and they believe them. So, baby name meanings. Where are my baby name meanings? For Jupiter, it is believed that his baby name meaning is Supreme God. Oh my hell. No, that is wrong on so many levels. There are a few, though, who suspect that the Jew part, Jupiter, is from Zeus, but is ADIEU in Rome. This would suggest that the phonetics changed under the Romans with Latin. That would be correct. So you'd need to find out what Zeus means. Zeus, I am surprised, it is correct. The baby name meaning is sky. And interestingly, they also attach shine to it. What shines in the sky? The sun god at noonday. What have I been telling you all these years? So who comes to Lehi in his vision, second vision? Who goes to Joseph Smith in his first and second vision? It's Zeus! The sun god at noonday. Yeah, it is. It's also Jupiter, and it's also Yah of the Hebrews, and thus Amen of the Egyptians. That's the origin of it. And so as people migrated out of Egypt, they changed their language, thus changed the name of Amen to the different deity names. And then tell different stories depending on their particular culture and their different geographical location. Because the stars in the heaven with the constellations have differences. Solar eclipses, for example, only occur over the land where the shadow is cast. And so I've told you the story about the Assyrian king who went to war against an eastern country, and he consulted his astrologers who checked the star charts and said, everything looks fine, you're good to go. And in the midst of the battle in the east, a solar eclipse occurred. And the king panicked and murdered his priests and astrologers, and then got some new guys, and they recommended assigning one of the slaves to be king for a day, and then at the end of the day murder him. And then after he's murdered, the new astrologers said, oops, we just caught on. We're in the east. We're not in our kingdom. And therefore, their king is supposed to die, not you, your majesty. And so sure enough, he did conquer that king in fulfillment of the sign in the heavens. And so in Revelation chapter 12, verse 1, you'll see that there's a Joseph Smith translation for it. And the Joseph Smith translation adds, sign in heaven in the likeness of things on the earth. Likeness of things on the earth is the prophecy, the prediction of the future. The sign in the heaven is the date for the future prediction, the day and the hour. And so whoever that Christian dumbass is who added in no man knows the day or the hour, he lied to you. And how many of you parrot it when somebody says the end of the world is on this date? No man knows the day or the hour. You're a false prophet, therefore. No, by their fruits you shall know they're a false prophet. When the day comes, nothing happens, then you can call him a dumbass. Not before, because some dumbass screwed up the scripture, along with the name of Emmanuel. It is not God with us. That is not the baby name meaning. That's Amen, El, God, Amen. Hey, the sun god at noonday of the Egyptians. So Peter, we haven't finished the baby name of Peter, or Jupiter. Oops, I gave it away. It's Zeus, Peter. Remove the vowels, they're screwing you up. You gotta get to the original root spelling. And so, yeah, you've got Zeus, Peter. That is the baby name meaning of Jupiter, not Supreme God. Come on, that's a title. And so I don't know why nobody could have figured that out. And so Zeus, as the sky, sun god Amen, which, yes, is spelled pictorially the same as Yah from Paleo-Hebrew script, the Z. And then Peter, which is rock or stone. Except in Egyptian, which everything originates from. Peter in Egyptian is the two eyes of Horus, PTR, and it means seer. Jupiter, Zeus the seer. And so Zeus, being the same as Yah, the Hebrew God, we then can go to Genesis. Chapter 1 and 2, remember? The Heliopolis creation glyph. The waters separated from the waters, dry land rising up. As the sky, rakia, firmament, it's sky, is formed, and thus the sun is placed in the sky along with the moon and the stars, even though they're in heaven. And so Chinese portrays this correctly, with the upper bar being heaven, the lower bar being earth, and then sky is in the middle. But notice how Chinese combines everything into a singular combo petroglyph, as I call it. They are pictures in Chinese, even though it's linear script being used to portray the pictures in a combo scene. And if you don't understand what a combo glyph is, then you apparently have never gone to the Book of Abraham and looked at the 3 facsimiles. Those are combo glyphs. Egyptologists don't know everything. And so, this right here, Genesis chapter 1 and 2, comes from the Egyptian story of Shu, Tefnut, Nut, Geb, in their stories. They put Nut and Geb first, and then put Shu and Tefnut in chapter 2. Yeah, he reversed it. But nonetheless, and notwithstanding, there it is. It's about the coming forth of the Christ. And so the Z for Paleo-Hebrew, for Yah, the Hebrew God, you can see when the switchover of phonetics occurred now, can't you? It comes from Greek for Zeus, but Latin changed it into Yah. But so did the Babylonians. And there's an Egyptian deity named Yah of the 18th dynasty, David, Moses's. The moon god under David, Thoth, or Thought. And so knowing ancient languages helps you understand the stories and what they're talking about, and thus the connections to the signs in the heavens. Everything is scripture. And so Perseus, as a constellation, has the Perseid meteor showers. And we have those Perseid meteor showers this year. The first group happened on August 12th into the 13th, which is the 9th of Av for the Jews, the Perseid meteor showers. Perseus throwing rocks, Peter's. Does that sound like a Jewish story from the Bible that you might be familiar with? A Jewish hero throwing rocks throwing stones, riverbed, Goliath, the Kraken, stones, Medusa, turned to stone, Kraken, David and Goliath. Yeah, same story. Just told in different ways, with different name of the characters, and a different setting. Same story. Perseid meteor showers. Prophecy and revelation. Day and hour. Likeness of things on the earth. Anybody been paying attention to my videos? We've got more Perseids coming up on Nelson's birthday. Remember last year? On Nelson's birthday? The Perseid meteor showers. And I had done the videos at least a month in advance last year of the coming of the Perseid meteor showers. Falling stars. On Nelson's birthday. Falling stars. And then on 9/11, what happened to Nelson? The likeness of things on the earth. He fell and he couldn't get up. And he didn't bother to tell anybody for 3 weeks, as he told us for conference. Because I exposed him with prophecy and revelation. You know, the title that he claims and didn't even bother to use. They don't even claim prophecy and revelation. They claim the titles of prophet and revelator and refuse to prophesy and reveal. I prophesied and revealed, and it came to pass. Do you understand what that means? So I've done it again this year. I've been doing it the whole latter days. My #1 video. I prophesied, I revealed. It came to pass. These are the latter days. Which means that the scriptures that prophesy and reveal are supposed to be going on. So we can now put all scriptures to the test. Not just the Bible, but the Book of Mormon, and the Romans, and the Greeks, and the Persians, and the Babylonians, and the Hittites, and the Assyrians, and the Canaanites, and the Chinese, and the Aztecs, and the Mayans, all originating with the Egyptians. Everybody's talking about the latter days. Everybody. I've been doing the videos all these years. I have demonstrated the gifts of prophet, seer, revelator, and translator, as I just did it again today in this video. And Mormons still refuse to believe. So, in case you wanted to know about Babylonian scriptures being prophecy, we'll cover it because we had a Purim lunar eclipse this year. Purim comes from the book of Esther. There's Esther and Mordecai, set in the Persian period. They're Jews under Persia. So, how are they connected? That's prophecy and revelation. Purim, I just told you. Remove the vowels. Are there any Babylonian deities, Mesopotamian deities, associated with Esther and Mordecai? Yeah. Ishtar and Marduk. Right there in your Bible. And so, yeah, everything has to do with the latter days. Purim. That's why the Jews designated Purim when they designated, as we're going to get to it. Gonna getcha. There we are. Yeah, these are in order. Alright? Yeah, they're in order. We don't have this second, but we do. It's down there. Okay, so it's out of order. I could quickly fix that by changing September to 9. Oops. To 9. And then we can just click on the arrow on the picture screen. There. And then we'll start with the first sign in the heavens this year. Purim. Lunar eclipses are when the moon is full, not when it's partial. You get dumb people who think that a lunar eclipse happens every day. Oh my God, no. Only when it's full. When the earth is in between the sun and the moon. The moon is eclipsed, and it turns blood red because of that. And so the moon is in Virgo. Thus, Esther is used for Purim. Because she's a female. Virgo is female. This is why the ancients designated those cluster of stars as Virgo. And so, yes, Jesus being born of Mary in Bethlehem, yeah, Spica, the house of bread star. Bethlehem, born of Mary. Spica is there at the womb. And so Jupiter, in Revelation chapter 12, is born of Virgo. And there are 12 stars in Leo. Should we do that first? Give you all the dates of Revelation? Just in case you never saw any of those previous videos over the years. Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. Joseph Smith translation moves it to number 3, which means it's part of 1 and 2. Take a look at your Book of Mormon, verses 8 and 10, 8 through 10 of 1 Nephi, chapter 1, the first year. Yep, it's the same. It's also confirmed because it's the sign that Isaiah gives. I give unto you a sign of Virgo, shall conceive Jupiter, and bear a son and call him Emmanuel. And so we're going to name him Jesus. But chapter 6 needs to be included because Isaiah is one big text all combined together. And there at the beginning you see the king who sees the throne of God. There it is, the same sign. So Isaiah and Revelation 12 are the same sign. So why don't we have Isaiah footnoted here in the footnotes, Bruce R. McConkie? And they didn't let me touch Revelation. It's too bad, because I'm the only one who could have done it. They had me in their midst. They knew I got the Jesus card. And they didn't fully utilize me to my fullest capacity, my full potential. It's 23rd September 2017. The start of the ministry. The start of the latter days of your Christ, Mormons. Remember Joseph Smith? He's doing the same stuff, saying that our Christ is the guy that everybody's talking about. And you need to know the learning of the Jews, thus the religion of the Jews, thus the Christs of the Jews. Joseph Smith is the Christ that sets up the church, sets up the temple, and then is going to be murdered by the enemy and his religion usurped, insurrected, erection, insurrection, resurrection, second erection. The second erection is by the latter-day Christ, who would come through Hiram Smith. Joseph Smith is not from outer space, wasn't a rape baby, like Jesus, when you turn him into literal history. God. Okay? So everything. This is why I put Nelson's head on Jesus on the back of the flying white horse the other day. Yesterday, I think even. And showed the clip of Anna Kendrick's boyfriend murdering Jesus. Because Nelson is to fall. So I thought it was perfect. Should probably pull out my Anna Kendrick pictures for this video. And so, verse 3 is another sign in the heavens. The red dragon, 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his heads. 17th December 2017, the 5th dark day of Hanukkah. Jewish holiday. Right there. Then you have his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Bye-bye, Monson. Bye-bye. Yep, 2nd of January 2018, the quadranted meteor showers. Monson dies. Who takes over? The great red dragon, Mars. Lucifer, the bride of Venus, the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. Huh. How did they know? Baby name meaning. And so, there's even another one that I'm the only one who covered this one too. Verse 15, the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away with the flood. She's pregnant. So even though she gives birth, in verse 5, the author is going back in time, back and forth in time. So you need to understand. And so she's pregnant again. And so this would be before 23rd September 2017 when she gives birth. And a pregnancy period is 9 to 10 months. It's the first baby, so you got to go back 10 months to try to find out. And her conception, there would have to be a sign in the heavens for the conception. Sure enough, it was a supermoon in November, after that presidential election, where the president was put on the throne in the first year, 2017. Verse 4, 1 Nephi chapter 1. There's a reason for the season. Da, 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 da. And so this was the 10th of February. It was a partial lunar eclipse, and there was a raging storm that caused a massive flood, centered mostly in Elko, Nevada. But the news was talking about how it was all around Salt Lake City, except for Salt Lake City. Who was giving the Family Discovery Day speech with his wife in Salt Lake City, protected from the flood? Nelson, Mars, Lucifer. Yeah. See, when Monson died, in verse 4, Mars was at the top of the scales of Libra, the scales of judgment. Nelson took over as the head of the church, the judge, as we call him. Sign in the heaven and the likeness of things on the earth. We can now attach Mars to President Nelson. And you were supposed to follow Mars all these years to see what Mars is going to be up to. Or you could have watched my videos all these years to see what Mars would be up to, and then sure enough, he did it. Because remember, he denies prophecy and revelation. I prophesied and revealed, and it all came to pass. Every single one, all these years. And so this is what you need to do, is attach the characters to the symbolisms, both in the heavens and in the prophecies. See how we're doing this? The antagonist is Nelson in all stories. I didn't name him. That was his parents. Blame them. So, same with Jupiter, who is the sun god. You're looking for a god soul. Solar, sole, sun. God, sun. Sun god. That's a surname. And he who is from the crossroads. Cross, remember? Romans didn't use crosses. The author is not talking about literal history. He's revealing the day and the hour of what we're coming up to. We're giving you the dates of Revelation now. Because it happened this year. And then 19, verses 11 and 17. I saw heaven opened, behold Pegasus, and the sun is sitting on him. We know it's the sun because verse 12, eyes were as a flame of fire. It had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Amun, the Egyptian sun god at noonday, from the Egyptian documents. So the sun is in Pegasus, which is in Pisces, back of the white horse. So there's the Book of Mormon, the iron rod, in verse 17. And so the sun, being on the back of Pegasus, now has an angel eclipsing the sun on the back of the white horse, Pegasus, in Pisces. Total eclipse of the sun. Once upon a time I was falling in love. Now I'm only falling apart. But we're using Aerosmith, Back in the Saddle. 8 April 2024. But we're going to get to that in more detail. And so, yeah, the Lamb also is a part of this. The sign of the death of the Lamb. Well, it's not an actual death. It's the sign of the death of the Lamb. Jupiter, Emmanuel, is in Aries, the Ram-Lamb constellation of sacrifice. Abraham sacrificing Isaac? Anybody remember? Anybody? Anybody? Goes to Utah to sacrifice the sons of God. Yep. So there you have it. All right there in the book of Revelation. Now you understand why the Catholic Church had to murder astronomers who were reviving the science of astronomy that the Jews knew and wrote about. Because they were going to reveal the super sacred secret that the Catholic Church isn't true. So what about this Church of Jesus Christ? Not true either, huh? Alrighty, so starting with Purim. And Purim has deeper meaning in the story than just Esther. The concept of Purim is somebody falsely accuses the Jews, sets the punishment to murder the Jews, but instead the Jews are saved and the false accuser is punished with death. The same punishment that was attached to the false accusation. You need to know the law of the Jews, Deuteronomy chapter 19. It explains what to do with false accusers, thus Purim. And so, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is falsely accusing Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon of being Christian. And we're the ones who murdered him. I've already done the sign in the heavens chart. From Brigham Young to Monson, all died under sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. Not the popes, not other religious leaders, only the presidents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with some exceptions, including certain apostles, Bruce R. McConkie and Perry Packer Scott Hales. Not Ballard, per se. But it is interesting that they brought the terrorist nation Kieran to be a part of the 12. Just like those Nazis with Uchtdorf. And so, the sign in the heavens for the Jews refers to the moon. And this goes back to the Egyptians. Sun, right eye of Horus. Remember Horus, Peter, seer? Sun, moon, government, religion, male, female, husband, wife. Those are the visionary symbolisms that you're supposed to attach to the signs in the heavens of the sun and the moon. And so the moon, female, religion, left eye. For seer. And the moon is in Virgo. There at the breasts, the two double D's make up David. And yes, in Paleo Hebrew, it is one of the names for love, both nurturing love for a baby, because how does a baby feed? From the breasts. And when you're having sex. Some guys are breast men. Not all guys. Some guys can appreciate any type and shadow or any type and size of breasts. Apparently those are rare. But women get so abused thinking that they're not good enough. And so they try to change themselves to be more attractive to the guy, and then the guy is found with another woman. All because you told him you just wanted to be friends when you were lying to him. You wanted him to change, to show that he was going to be committed to you. And then you weren't committed to him, and so he had to move on. And now you're jealous. Almost finished with Body of Proof. Oh my God. She purposely ruins one relationship thinking that she's going to get back together with the other relationship when she finds him with another guy or another girl. Oh, Dana. She's drop dead gorgeous, super intelligent, and because of her tragedies, her heart's been softened. And so she's the perfect woman for me, even though she's a fantasy. Not real. She's a fictional character, like Ishtar or Esther. But nonetheless, I divert. And so yes, that's why you see the moon with Esther, Virgo. And so it doesn't matter what religion, what story, the female, that's what we're talking about. This is how they wrote the scriptures, to prophesy, and here it is. This was a prophecy being fulfilled on this day. This is the church. And there are save two churches, the Church of the Lamb and the Church of the Devil. Nelson, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And the Church of the Latter-day Saints that is to be resurrected in the latter days. And so this being the last year, this is significant because we're waiting for the fall of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the president, who is Lucifer, baby name meaning. And so sure enough, there are two falling stars, one on the shoulders for the authority, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, from Isaiah. So anything on Virgo's shoulders is the religious authority, especially when there's the moon involved, especially when there's falling stars. And so you've got two, the virginids of the beta and the epsilon, are they? I'm getting the right names. Eta? I think it's Eta, actually. And so the other one is there in the womb. An abortion. Yeah. And what's been going on this year? more abuse towards women concerning abortion. Remember Arizona, the Mormons? So yeah, not a coincidence. Stars in heaven, signs in heaven, and the likeness of things on the earth. It's happening, guys. That's why you need to pay attention to the news, so that you know what's going on. That's why I do church news videos for you, to connect to what the church is up to. Because I can't just sit back and, just look and make stuff up. No, I can't make stuff up. That's what Constantine did, turning everything literal history. Okay? So yes, a lunar eclipse, a blood moon. On Purim, Jewish holy day about Ishtar, and those who are false accusers getting punished themselves instead to save the Jews. It's to save you, Mormons. And you never thank me. And so, then others need to be factored in as well. What are others up to? What's Nelson up to? Nelson is in the belly of the high priest symbol, just as the moon is. There are no falling stars, but he's the great high priest of the great and abominable church, the false prophet. There in the belly of Aquarius, the high priest symbol from the Egyptians. Pouring water, high priest. And so, then you have Saturn, the father of Jupiter, being cleansed of his impurities, and in conjunction with Venus, which is the counterpart of Virgo and the moon. The great and abominable church, being cleansed, high priest, bowels, abortion, lunar eclipse, falling stars, church is getting cleansed. See what's going on? The sun is on the back of the white horse, Pegasus. This is government. So something's going on with the government of the United States of America. And so Mercury is tied with that president put on the throne in the first year. Because sure enough, when the election was finally decided, as she caved and let him have it, certainly he couldn't be as bad as he says he was going to be. He's learned his lesson. He's now going to take on the mantle of the president, and he will change. Democrats just set us all up. They unleashed the Kraken. And so yeah, right there at the joining of the two Pisces, two fishies. He's the messenger, the Trump. Wow, what a coinkadink. And then you have Jupiter, who's getting ready for his big debut from Revelation 19. There in Aries. He's all tied up on the altar, ready for sacrifice. Alrighty. So then the big day, Revelation 19. It's on the back of the white horse in Pisces. And it crosses the two previous eclipses over America. and thus forms the first letter and the last letter of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, which the spelling is the word for sign in Isaiah. A sign I give unto you, a Virgo shall conceive Jupiter and bear Jesus. Yep. That is it. And we also have in conjunction Venus and Mercury. Mercury on the one side, Venus on the other. The Great and Abominable Church and Trump. I kind of wondered with the 2020 election if Biden took over as Mercury with the transition of authority, and then Trump confirmed that no, he's still Mercury. And so Biden apparently seems to be a lame duck in all of this, as he has been. Did nothing. He knew what he needed to do, and he didn't do it. So Trump kept doing what he was doing, and sure enough, he fulfilled the signs in the heavens. And, yeah, that's the moon. And so you have Jupiter being sacrificed as the lamb. And, whoops. And so sure enough, you still have the two falling stars in Virgo as the darkening of the sun, the fall of the sun, with the completion of the Jewish prophecies. The prophecies are made up of words. The words are made up of letters of the alphabet. And this day finished the alphabet. The prophecies are fulfilled. This is the latter days. This is the last day of the latter days in the Jewish religious calendar. It's the very last day. The 9th is the first new year of the religious calendar. This is the last year of the latter days. And it finished with the last letter being formed over the United States of America, where X marks the spot of where Zion is to be. Notice, we're not there, Mormons, because you didn't go in 2020. You did not hearken to your Christ, and so you're getting cut off. You're setting yourself up for utter destruction because you think you know better, having not studied. The church is true because you have feelings and they need to be validated. Dumbasses all. And so, yeah, these are significant things that you got to be paying attention to. This was a big event, and it was prophesied that all the world will see it together. And sure enough, it was fulfilled. The whole world saw this sign together. The #1 news story ever, covered by everywhere around the earth. Numerous stories, all covering it. Okay? And so the fall of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with this eclipse, with Venus on the back of the white horse. the fall of the church. Falling stars in Virgo. And so Mars and Saturn are getting purged with water, the high priest symbol. Ninth Ave. This is the 9/11 origin. Because on 9th Ave, 586 BCE, and 9th Ave, 70 CE, the Jews were utterly destroyed, and the temple with it. 9/11. Day first, then the month. 4. Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. Genesis and Deuteronomy, the author uses a different linguistic pattern to put the month first, then the day. So 9th Ave is associated with the Exodus. Man like Moses. And so, on this day, we have 5 falling stars. Star is pointing up with 5 points, but they're falling. Inverted pentagram. Falling stars. 5 for the high priest. What religion has the high priest? The ones with the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. And so the moon has been judged. It has finished its judgment in Libra, and it has fallen. And there are the Perseids. Perseus throwing stones as the Cygnids are there at the mouth of the dragon. Falling stars at the mouth of the dragon. The fiery darts of the adversary. Falling stars from Cygnus, the mouth of Draco, the dragon. Jupiter is with Mars, right? Yeah. This is when they're right there in conjunction with each other. There's a transfer of authority that is going on. The sign in the heavens, transfer of authority. Anybody recall the way to perfection that I've been going over with you? Anybody listen to me when I talk about Nelson and his response to the whistleblower? He's claiming, as Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. is claiming, that the true Christ will be given authority. Now, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says that the governments are going to give authority to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in a coup. However, the prophecies are that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with their president, Lucifer, will fall. And that the Christ of Mormons will take over. 9th Ave. The whole Nebuchadnezzar's dream, interpreted by the judge of God, Daniel, is about the restoration of the Jews, involving the 2 9th Aves, and the abomination that maketh desolate, the Greeks, sacrificing on the altar. which is also Elijah. So guess what happened on this day? Elijah versus the priests of Baal is involved with the falling stars. Water is poured out on the altar before the day that shall burn as an oven. Falling stars. This is 9/11. What happened, Utah? At the beginning of 9th Ave and at the end of 9th Ave, I did the videos. Water flooded Utah. The altar, preparing for your fall. Prophecy of the sign in the heavens, revelation in the likeness of things on the earth. It's all happening, Mormons. And so, the sun, and Mercury, and Venus are all in Regulus. Venus is at the rhyming of Leo's appendage. The transfer of authority is coming, Mormons. And then a rare blue supermoon, a seasonal one, occurred, rather than a second supermoon in a month. This was a seasonal blue moon that we had, and it was a supermoon. Really cool. Saw it when I was out running in the morning. Alrighty. And so, the repeat of last year. You were warned, Nelson. You didn't want to believe. You're stubborn, proud, arrogant. You've got power, you think, and you don't want to give it up. Right, Oaks? Did you pay attention to my video yesterday? I know it was 3 hours. Are you sure you want to be next? Because remember the pattern of every single president of Brigham Young's abomination. They all get struck down with the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. It is not a good time to claim authority that you're not allowed to have. And so here we come. Nelson's birthday. 2. The return of the fall. Last year, the Perseid meteor showers. Are these the epsilons? These might be the epsilons. Or the sigmids. I need to see the reference in front of me. The Greek alphabet, the letters next to each other, so I can figure it out. I don't memorize. But anyway, the second Perseid meteor showers are now occurring on Nelson's birthday, 9/9/2024. And these are fun, because these are at Medusa's forehead. Where was Goliath struck? The third eye. Seer. The false seer. The fall of the great and abominable church. And here we have the president and his birthday with the falling stars of Perseus. David smiting Goliath. The fall of the great and abominable church. And so, the sign in the heavens was on his birthday. Last year, he fell in the likeness of things, in the likeness of the sign in the heavens, likeness of things on earth, on 9/11. He fell, and he couldn't get up. Had to stay in a wheelchair. And so this year, same exact pattern, same exact days. Nelson's birthday, the Perseids. That's when they're at their peak. And then on 9/11 is 9/11. Similar to the Jewish 9/11 of 9th Ave with the Perseids. You see the connection going on here? This is the last year of the latter days. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. Here we go, Mormons. Are you ready? No? Still don't want to believe, huh? Still gonna harden your heart. Church is true. You're going to church today. Really? You're gonna go to church today? It's a Babylonian holy day of fear and trembling, altered by Constantine to Sunday rather than Saturn Day, the seventh day. You want to worship Babylon, do you? And so, pay careful attention. We're waiting for a 9/11 event. MAGA keep threatening us that there's a 9/11 event coming. Pay attention. Alright, so we're not done with the signs yet. The scrolls do not need to be rolled up. The heavens don't need to be rolled up yet, but this is the last year. Everything's getting fulfilled. The story is over. Is this a kissing book, Grandpa? He doesn't die in the end. What the hell, Grandpa? Who kills Prince Humperdinck? Nobody. He gets away with it. Grandpa! No! So, there's a lunar eclipse on the 19th of September, 18th of September. And this is in preparation for the solar eclipse that's next. So this has significance. We had Purim lunar eclipse, and then the solar eclipse on the last day of the religious calendar New Year, in the last year of the latter days. So now we have a lunar eclipse preceding the solar eclipse in the last year of the latter days. And so the moon is on the back of the white horse. The fall of the religion. Is it going to take that long? Can it be on 9/11? And so we have Saturn getting purged with water. Oh, right, the Perseids, the fire. Baptism of water for 9th Ave. 9/11, fire, baptism of fire. Can't forget that one. Alright, so Southern Aquariids are there in the water falling. Water falling, Stars falling, Saturn. You also have the autumn Aritids. They're at the crossroads of the two fishies. You have the Arugids, which are close to Perseus. And then you have Jupiter, who's between the horns still of Taurus. Because remember, he retrogrades for a pregnancy period. And so you gotta know of the Apis bull of the Egyptians, the transfer of authority. That's why it was significant to have Jupiter and Mars in conjunction for 9th Ave. The transfer of authority. That's the symbolism that's going on here. Jupiter is now the one in authority. Mars, on September 18th for the lunar eclipse. Oh, I didn't cover the sign in the heavens for it. I missed that. Okay, we got to come back, because, crap, where is it? It was the combo glyph that I did for the video yesterday. That's why I didn't. There it is. Oh, man. Because it's 9 instead of 2024, starting off the title. Alright, so, wow, 9/11. After 9/9 with the Perseids, the moon is on the throne of Ophiuchus, the throne of God. The religion. Jupiter has been given transfer of authority. The religion on the throne. Seeing the pattern match? The high priest has 2 falling stars, with Saturn being purged in the waters. You also have the autumn Aritids. They're at the Pisces crossroads. And still have the Perseids going on in Medusa. Transfer of authority, remember? Mars. This is where Brad Pitt in Troy comes in as Achilles. Achilles gets struck in his heel and falls. Guess where Mars is? In Gemini, at the heel of the brother who dies for 9/11. Nelson, Mars, Gemini, the dead brother. Heel, Achilles, fall, falling stars, falling stars, falling stars, falling stars. The daytime sextantids are there by Leo and Regulus, as Mercury is there. Interesting. Is somebody going to be saved from going to prison because of some kind of an event where the government is being trodden upon, being betrayed with the Judas price of Leo the Lion of Utah, paying for the fall of the government so they can get their kingdom back? 9/11, huh? And then thus on the crown of Virgo, say this is Purim again. There's an attempt to falsely accuse and thus give the punishment of death to the victim. But there's a battle going on in outer space. A war in heaven. Amazing. So, yeah. Pay attention. It's coming in the coming days. Alright, so then we can go back to the lunar eclipse on the 18th of September, where we left off. So Mars is now more in the crotch of the dead man. The seed of the dead man, somewhat of an abortion. So yeah, we've covered all this, and so we keep going. Mercury is now being trodden upon on the 18th. It fails? Is Trump gonna go to prison? It's not until the 28th. And the sun is there at the head of Virgo. Okay, and then the final one. A solar eclipse. I think it's an annular ring of fire. And it is in Virgo. This is the last day of the Jewish civil calendar. And there's another eclipse. This is the last year of all of scriptural prophecy. The work is finished. The scrolls are being rolled up. The heavens rolled up as a scroll. We're finished. The story is done. And we have an eclipse at the boobs of Virgo. Annular eclipse, ring of fire. Mercury is there in conjunction with this sign of collapse. 3rd Nephi, chapter 7. Federal government destroyed by the secret combination of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Everybody now goes into tribal states. America falls. Venus is being trampled on by Virgo and is nearing the top of the scales of judgment at the same time. Great and abominable church, Church of the Lamb. That's why the purging in Aquarius of Saturn. And we still have the daytime sextantids. Mars is now in between the two brothers, the one that resurrects, the one that dies. The Orionids have now appeared in conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter is there, he's got the authority now. And you have the Arigids. Can't see because Capella is overlapping it. As it's further away from Perseus's shield. But the Andromedids, the honey babe who was locked up to the rock of Peter, that was going to be food for the Kraken. Her falling stars are now happening. They're at her womb even. And then you've got 2 falling stars right there at the beginning of the Aries constellation, as the northern Taurids are also involved. in between, having fallen off of the white horse. So yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. Lots of fun stuff. That's it. See, the rest of the world is at war, while those who go with Jupiter to Zion will have the only peace, safety, and refuge on the face of the earth. And Mormons choose death. So, there you have it. Lots of fun stuff going on this year. Lots of fun stuff. Yeah, 8/19 for the super seasonal blue full moon. Don't think there's anything else. So now I just have to figure out what picture I'm going to use for the thumbnail.